Hello, dear aquarist, dear betta fish hobbyist or breeder, or the people that like to keep the fighting fish, the bettas. I came across a study that might interest you to understand something about the diseases of tank-raised ornamental Siamese betta fish or the wild ones collected in Thailand. And I'm interested to share that with you because it might teach us some lessons what you can deal with when you keep the betta fish. So I will share you the study that I came across, and we will go through it with the most important, how can I say, details that matter us about the occurrence of parasitic and bacterial pathogens in ornamental and wild populations of the Siamese fighting fish, or scientific name the Betta splendens, in Thailand. I will share below in the link the study so you can go into more detail if you like, because it contains some details I will not discuss because I give you the general, how can I say, feedback from that article and also some critical input that I might share with you. The interesting about this article is comparison between wild fish and tank-raised betta fish, Siamese betting fish from Thailand. And this study aimed to investigate the prevalence and the seasonality of parasite species and pathogenic bacteria in the fighting fish over 12 months. And they went to collect 60 or 60 size ornamental tank-raised Siamese fighting fish collected from a commercial sources in Thailand, and 81 wild Siamese fighting fish from different natural habitats. In the article, well, in the abstract, it says that in the ornamental, the aquarium Siamese fighting fish, the parasitic prevalence was only 25% and was lower than the wild, which is nearly 35%. In both Siamese fighting fish, they found the parasite Trichodyna, particularly in the wild. More Trichodyna was found in the wild fish. I will go more in detail later on in the study. In the winter season, the Thai winter season, there was the highest infection load of parasites, and with a large variety of diversity of parasites found in each location and less in the summer region. I will go and show you later on in the studies they published. Well, the season determines how significant the well the diseases can be in wild fish, which is less in ornamental fish because they are less susceptible to seasonal changes. When you have a fish farm, well, you know it, you can control it. There's the advantage. The wild doesn't have that advantage. They are not in a control system. They also did the study on the bacterial pathogens, and they found Aeromonas and Mycobacterium. Particularly Mycobacterium was found in the tank-raised ornamental aquarium Siamese fighting fish, which was not found in this study in the wild varieties. So it concluded that the Siamese fighting fish had a seasonal variation of parasites, also partially impact of the ecology where the fish were living. And it's interesting to understand from this study the management of the biodiversity of parasites in fish and preventing the infections in aquaculture, because it teaches us some lessons and what of kind of precautionary measures you can take when you put them in quarantine. And that's what I teach in my courses of my Patreon classes, quarantining fish and how to do it. and how to prevent that diseases will come into your facility or into your fish house, or particularly when you have a home aquarium, that you introduce fish with diseases. Well, you can go through the intro yourself, how important bettas are and what diseases can occur on those bettas. Several studies were presented here, particularly interesting studies on Mycobacterium. And as you know, Mycobacterium causes fish tuberculosis, which is difficult to cure and is, well, rather widespread in the betta breeding community. The materials, well, like I said, they did a study on the wild fish collected in different areas and collected in commercial breeding facilities in Thailand. It indicates where it is. So if you are from Thailand, it will be interesting for you to look where the fish were collected and different stations. Here it is. They put even the degrees of well, where they collected, the GPS locations. They did identification of the pathogens, but here I first want to show you the biotopes of where those betta fish were collected. The natural swamps or areas, you can see it, how green it is. That's where the bettas were collected in the wild. So they did a bacterial characterization and they did a parasitic study, and the results here, they already showed here in the summary that the average body length and the average weight of the tank raised or the ornamental betta fish were nearly double than those from the wild. Yeah, because they're specifically bred of beautiful body and beautiful fins, which is less common from the wild. The parasitic infection was related to the quality of the water, depending on the, how can I say, the season. And here I can show you some photographs of the parasites. In detail, they are described in the listing. This is a kind of stalactylate. This is Trachodyna. Here are a group of, how can I say, Heneguia sporozoa. Here is a fluke. Here is a fluke. This is a fluke that is like a diplostomum, like a metacercaria. And here are worms like a hookworm, and here a nematode worm. So different parasites were found in those wild bettas. That was found in the wild bettas. And most of it was found was Trichodyna, was mostly found. I will go later on to give you the percentages. But found, and here we can see it here, that about 15% of the fish had Trichodyna. And in total, in worms infection, there was nearly 22% of the fish had worms, which is rather high. By the tank-raised fish, the ornamental Siamese fish, there was a small percentage of Trichodyna, much less than the 15% is only 1.6% of the Trichodyna in the gills. And they found a lot of gill flukes. 25% of the Siamese ornamental fish had gill flukes, while here only 7% had skin flukes. So it seems to be a breeding problem where gill fluke seems to be a problem in the facilities. It also explained that the most problem of causes of diseases was during the winter season. Let's go in detail here. The rainy season, the winter season, the summer season. The comparison between the wild and the ornamental fish. You can see here the rainy season, the percentage of the parasites, the quantity of fish that examined. Here is the winter season, see 30% had Trichodyna of the fish. And the worm infections, again, 22%. Henneguia, the sporozoa, about 18%. And the ornamental fish also had in the winter, you can say, well, and in the summer, about, well, 53% skin gill flukes, dactylogyrus, also in the summer. In the rainy season, seems to be less gill flukes. Well, to give you some idea that this might also have some impact in the fish farms during the seasons, during the rain, more water change, you can say. Less risk of defection of the gill flukes because of the water change due to the rain. All reasons that I can might be a reason. A fish farm would know better. And here is the percentage of the parasites across the seasons. Well, I explained this already a little bit in the wild fish, the rainy season, the winter season, and the summer season. You can see the changes in percentages. They also did a study on the water quality that had some changes in dissolved oxygen. Some pH look 6.55 to 7.4, so that's a change. The temperature 28.5 to 26, so you can see in the rainy season there's a higher temperature. That might have, in my opinion, a large impact on the infections. And here we see the photographs of some of the betta with their disease symptoms. A wound at the pelvic and pectoral fin, which was indicated here. With Henneguia, parasites were found. This is a normal one, excuse me. This is the one with the infection. You can see here the bleeding spots here. You see the color of the fish is not good. And this is how a wild fish looks healthy. Bacterial infections, that's another thing that is interesting to note, that they found the mycobacterium, which I presented in several of my studies, how important that disease is in our industry and in the hobby, and which is difficult to treat. And here we can see in the wild, there was zero mycobacterium. Aeromonas was available depending on the place, look 35% in a certain location, which has a higher incidence, probably due to pollution, water quality, etc. But look at 27% had aeromonas in the tank raised, in the ornamental fighting fish, and nearly 37% had mycobacterium. Think about that. So here is some photographs of the tank raised fish with their diseases. You can see here the dropsy, the big belly. Here we can see the granulomas found. I mean the skin nodules, we can call it. Some people call it granulomas. But the skin nodules, which is caused by different reasons, could be viral, could be a kind of cancer, something happening by breeding fish. And here on the right, inner organs with tubercles, which is typical for mycobacterium. See my videos where I talk about that in several occasions on mycobacterium and fish diseases. Other conclusions was there was of course a difference in parasites between tank raised, pond raised, aquarium betta fish or the wild. Nature determines what the fish can get, and the variety of parasites was much higher from the wild. We know it because as tank raised bettas we can control the infection, although it was very typical. But most of the bettas we have in our market are the beautiful colored and beautiful fins on the bettas, but they have very easily mycobacterium, fish tuberculosis. They might have gill flukes, and what was not found in this study and might be interesting to think about is oodinium or velvet disease, which I encounter sometimes in cases of the bettas. So go in detail for yourself. Go to the literature which is available. This might all interest you if you are a betta breeder specifically, particularly when you also collect wild bettas. Think about the different parasites that can occur. Not only wild bettas, but in general, wild fish have wild diseases. Interesting for me as a fish doctor. So I hope this study teaches you a lesson on betta fish from the wild or the beautiful ornamental betta fish which you can get in the market, and that you can understand what diseases can occur. What you can do about it, read it in my books and subscribe to learn more. Thank you for watching.